Can I just clear up a bit of confusion? Because there is obviously it's been discussed now, and I asked you before the show, Curio, and you said if it comes up, and it has. So the confusion from our own side, where they're describing these types of pictures that are on screen now as being white swans. Well, in the analogy, not the logical consistency, but in the analogy, all white swans are globe Earth horizons. In other words, the natural assumption by most of the Western world, what we're fighting against, the whole point of us being here, is that most people think the horizon's the geometric edge of a sphere. That's the status quo. So when our own side starts saying, no, 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 these are actually white swans, it's like, no, you've misunderstood the analogy. Because if they were all white swans, everybody in the Western world would appreciate that we can see further than the globe claims. As soon as you have the words globe claims, the only reason you're disclaiming that is because what the globe claims is the white swan. That's the standard rhetoric. Now, in an ideal world, everybody would be a flat earther. They'd all appreciate they've been lied to, and everyone would just know that the horizon's not a physical geometric edge of a sphere. 100 years from now, if everyone woke up tomorrow to the realization that they're not living on a sphere, 100 years from now, they might actually never even consider that the horizon's anything other than a not actual location, a non-physical location. So it might not even be the case that you'd want to consider it, as the analogy suggests. But the only reason, and this is the frustrating part for me, that people are saying, well, no, that's a white swan. Like, why are you calling a horizon a swan again? Is it because it's been phrased as a black swan? Well, the analogy, when it's been phrased that way, is to give the contrapositive to the claim that a horizon is a globe horizon. And that is the status quo. That is the white swan. So the exception is where you have something that violates the geometry that most people are under the assumption of, i.e. when it violates globe geometry. And unfortunately, to the guy who just spoke in Discord, or fortunately, depending on which way you want to look at it, use Ranty as an example. Let's stick with Ranty. Ranty's got loads of black swans. I already know which ones he's got that are black swans. It was pretty obvious almost immediately which ones were black swans and which ones weren't. However, this particular observation is quite unique in terms of the way you've got these very structured things that give you marcation points or demarcation points along the viewing distance. So because they're marking out how far you are going out along the flat plane we look over and then seeing the horizon, you can say categorically this horizon is at this distance. Now, if you've just got a backdrop of land, it doesn't mean that it's not as useful, but you're into just the horizon with nothing to reference it. In other words, you're into the limited angle at the bottom of whatever is technically sat on top of the horizon, regardless of where it is in the majority of Ranty's images. So this particular image is extra specially unique. It doesn't mean it's the only black swan. Far from it. But the ones that show a geometric impossibility for a horizon are other black swans as opposed to white swans. Until we are no longer under the cosh and understanding that we're on a sphere, as most of the Western world is still brainwashed with, until that's the case, white swans are geometric horizons. That's just the way it is. Now, Anthony's kind of the reason I've joked about it 3 or 4 more times is because we have got the undebunkable checkmate position with this modus tollens argument, and to weaken it for any reason or to sort of rearrange the Karl Popper analogy, it just seems futile. Why bother? Just if you don't like the example, just ignore it. But it's detrimental to our position to essentially say, no, 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 look, we're looking at what seems to be over a flat plane. That's the only way you can map it out if you were doing ray tracing for the sake of argument, if you were arguing it as a flat earth proof. But then you haven't debunked anything. There is many moves that you can make on that chessboard from the assertion, as Anthony's rightly pointing out. When you use it as just yet another flat earth proof, well, you're brushing under the table something that, as Paula has been pointing out, set the cat amongst the pigeons, set the cat amongst the swans, because they're all flapping away and they're all suddenly in different story mode. Everyone's got a different story. No one can agree on what the horizon is. It's essentially total chaos on the globe side. So there's no rebuttal to this. The only thing they can do is flap or lie. So that's what we've got. So if you can't recognise that on our own side now, and instead of utilising its devastating effect, you decide to sort of diminish it, that's disappointing. And it tells me you're not recognising what's currently going on around the scene. You all will, globeheads and flat earthers alike. It may take some time. Somebody out there who's a bit more technically savvy might make that countdown timer that I described at the beginning of the show. Countdown to the understanding of modus tollens in the form of the black swan. Maybe the counter for globe Earth and flat Earth can run side by side. Who knows? But just know this. The globe can be described as debunked. Not in a lackluster, haha, look, I've got a picture that debunks the globe and then it gets argued about endlessly. No, the globe is officially debunked. It is watertight. There is no way around it.
Black Swan.